So welcome to the second part of our session today. And in this part, we're going to actually get on Jira Live and get to try our hands on what Jira platform is, get to see the different features on the Jira platform. We get to see how it is from a practical perspective. You know that in the first session, we've laid the foundation where we spoke about what a project is, having an understanding of what Agile is at a high level, having an understanding of Scrum, Kanban, and the things that are associated with them, and the things that we would eventually see on Jira. So like our stories and our tasks, our epics, you've gotten to understand all that. For those who are just joining us, I just want to tell you to please like, share this channel, these videos, like these videos, share them, and ensure that you're following our channel. It's at AAA Consult. It's the same on Instagram, on YouTube, on Twitter, and on TikTok. Okay, so now we have that understanding. We're going to get into the platform itself. What we're going to do now, guys, is pull up your browsers, and on your browsers, you can enter jira.com. So that's where we get started, and I'm just going to do just exactly that as well. So it's as simple as this, guys, jira.com, and then we get into it, we get to enter it, and I'm just going to do a quick walkthrough. One of the things that makes Jira what it is today is because a lot of organizations use Jira. As at the last count, over 100,000 organizations use Jira, and you find all the top organizations in IT and even beyond, right, using Jira today. So all the Amazons of this world, the different organizations that you find across the world, a lot of them use Jira. Let's get into what the interface looks like, and I'll just walk you through this, which is a very important piece of learning. Okay, so here we get on the landing page. This is where we're still going to come back to, where we'll try and get Jira for free. So here they're telling us what we can do with it for software development, marketing. So you're doing a marketing campaign, you can use Jira for your marketing campaign. IT in managing and tracking your requests. So maybe your IT service management, design, especially when you want to create a workflow, you want to integrate, because Jira is such a great tool that you can integrate other tools into it, such as Figma. So you can integrate it with Figma, for example, so you can have a Figma plugin with Jira. So that's something we would talk about in some of our future classes. And you can see you want to use it for operations, not just something that is project-based. They also have that functionality. As I mentioned, a lot of organizations use Jira, over 100,000 and counting. So you can see NASA, Air Canada, Visa, Canva, Domino's, Ford, and so on and so forth. And we'll still see a couple of them as we get along. So here it just talks about what you can use Jira for: manage complex projects or everyday tasks. So either you're using it for projects or you're using it for operations or your business as usual, Jira is a dynamic tool that you can use. And then now they've also integrated AI into Jira. So that's something else that you can also leverage if you're using the paid version. And we'll talk about that as well as we get along. And one of the things you can also do with Jira is you can pull your different teams together on inside Jira. So rather than maybe if they're using different tools, or you have maybe scrums of scrums, you can still use your Jira to do all that here. So that's what this talks about. This talks about you never losing this side of the big picture. So making sure that you can track your work, you can see what your roadmap is more or less, and see your workflows and all that. So that's what this is here. And this is one of the things I mentioned, that you can use different tools that are managed by other organizations or that are owned by other organizations, and you integrate it with Jira. So for instance, you can use the Microsoft Teams, you can use the Google Drive, you can use Figma, there's Zoom, there's Slack, there's Miro, and all of them. So they're here, and you can see a lot of other things here. If we click on see all integrations, we can see the other tools that we can actually, different other tools that we can actually integrate into Jira. If we want to take a look at, for instance, if we want to go here and see other products such as, let's search for, see, so you have Smart Sheet checklist for Jira, so you can use that as well. You integrate, and then it integrates into your for your platform. Let's take a look at, for instance, if we do this. So you can see that you can actually sync your ClickUp. So if you're using ClickUp as your tool, for example, you can actually sync ClickUp with Jira. You see Asana as well. You can also sync Asana with Jira, and all these other platforms too have the same functionality. So you go on Asana, for instance, you want to sync with Jira, you can sync with Jira. You go on ClickUp, you want to do the same. It's practically very similar as well. So I just wanted to show that to us. Let's get back and get going with where we started. Okay, so this just shows the integration. This talks about, this is just some of their marketing content that we would see right there. Let's take a look at their features. On features here, it talks about us being able to get this for free, and it shows you some of the things that are possible on Jira. Timeline, so you want to use your timelines right there, which is one of the things that we're still going to do today. Managing your work with powerful agile board, so maybe you want to use a Scrum board, a Kanban board, for example. It's right there on Jira. If you get into your projects using Scrum on Jira, it's still going to move it into more or less like what they call a Scrum board, but it's still a Kanban board. So that is also available on Jira. So, in the first piece of what we did, I spoke about Scrum and Kanban as major methodologies that are used on Jira. So you can see that they speak specifically to those two right here. And then reports and insights is how you can generate your reports. There are different things you can do right there. Project flexibility, so you can customize your workflow. If somebody gets something done, once the person submits, it can move to the next person without them moving the cards around. You can do all that. You can extend with apps and integrations. So I showed you what some of those integrations are that you can do. So those are things you can also do here. And then drag and drop automation. So the automation, you don't have to code for the automation. It's very simple. It's just moving things around. And that's one of the things we'll see in one of our subsequent sessions. And then you can see your code and your deployment status at a glance in Jira, though you will still have to go to, for instance, if you use maybe GitHub or GitLab, you still have to go there to see where things are with your code, especially if you want to see if your code is done and ready. So, and then DevOps, which is something that Jira is good for. So you can use Jira for DevOps, design for security and scale. So this is some of their marketing pitch. And I mentioned organizations that use Jira. So you can see these are the top organizations in the world, Fortune 500 companies, some of them Fortune 100. So you can see Square, eBay, Visa, Cisco, Pfizer. So they all use Jira. So this is their product guide. And here you can see most of the things, questions, you want to learn more. So this is where you would find more or less like their product guide that would help you with the questions, or if you need to use specific things, this is more or less like their quick reference guide. Here we've got our template. So this talks about the different templates that are there on Jira. We're going to explore some of them today, but we'll take them one step at a time. As I've mentioned, that software development is very huge on Jira. That's what a lot of people use Jira for, and that's what made Jira quite popular. So you see it's number one there. Marketing is there, design, sales, operations, project management, which Jira is also quite big on, service management, human resources, legal, IT operations, and finance. Okay, and then they've got, their templates. This is more or less just like marketing pitches, and we'll get to see them as we get along in this session today. Okay. Pricing, if you want to get on the paid version, it's not that expensive, honestly. You can actually buy like a standard version for $8, 15 cents. So that's what it is. And then premium for $16. And if you're buying at an enterprise level, ideally they want to talk to you, with their sales would ideally contact you. So, they can give you whatever options they have. Okay. This enterprise would really speak to, if you're managing, for an enterprise. So this is not applicable to us today. Let's get back and get started. And here we go. So what you're going to click first to get started for your account is Get Jira Free. So that's the first thing first. So you click on Get Jira Free, and here we go. In clicking on your Get Jira Free, what you want to do is you click on, you may use an email to register to sign up, or you may want to use, if you have a Google account or an Apple account, or if you've got Slack or Microsoft, maybe you've got an Outlook account, you can also use that as well. For me today, I'm going to use one of my Google accounts to sign in, and we'll get started. So for you, if you're using whichever one you're using, just sign up. I'm going to use one of my Google accounts to sign in, so you can use yours as well. All you need to do is just click on the one that you want to use, and then you input the email address, or if it's signed on your account already, it can just be single sign-on and you just log in straight up from there. So I hope we're all logging in with our accounts, and let's get going with it. There we go. So for me, I'm just here. So once you're here, once you've gotten to this point, or once you've entered your email, similar to what I'm doing, you would have it just exactly the way I have it. So all you need to do right now is just go here and click on create account. If you want to receive their news and offers, you can click on this. If you don't, just go straight up here and just click on create account. Okay. And here it's going to make some suggestions for you. So here it's going to ask you what your site name is going to be called on Atlassian. I typically would say just leave it the way it is exactly, and click on this to continue. And there you go. So it's going to make suggestions. What kind of work do you do? So it's going to ask you, what do you do? You can, tell it what you want to use it for, right? So that way it makes the right suggestions for you, because remember, these are platforms that are driven by a lot of machine learning, AI, and all that, right? So whatever you click, that would help them curate your experience, right, on Jira. So for me, but for the purpose of what we're doing today, I'm just going to click on, software development, and also look at a few other things that would help also maybe that we would use. So let's click on software development and we get going. Well, you can look at something else, maybe IT support that you want to do, or you would find some projects here as well. So you can click on that and click on whatever works best for you. But for the purpose of today, let's click on software development, which is what I'm going to use. And there we go. Okay, so it's asking us here, what are we going to do, right? So, and it says you can always change this later. And whatever you pick, honestly, doesn't really change your experience. It doesn't change what you can do, the functionalities that are there for you. The only thing is just that the templates that it would suggest for you would really be around whatever you end up selecting. Okay, so let's talk about, since we said we're going to look at how to use it to Scrum today, that's what we're going to do. So we're just going to click on, I clicked on projects. I can go back. Let's go back and see. That we're going to use you for Jira. Here we go. So in the meantime, while it's loading, so once you click on it, it will help you with what you need to do. So for me, it's suggesting a Kanban board for me to get started with. Uh, uh, you can select this. So once you click on whatever you're using there, it's ask you if you're familiar with Jira. If you're not, the reason is if you say you're very familiar with Jira, it will make suggestions for you. It will assume that you know everything already on the platform. If you say you're not familiar with Jira, it will then say, it would, if you click on this, for instance, it will make suggestions for you. So that way it makes it easier for you. It makes your experience seamless. That's what the platform would do. So I'm going to click on I'm not familiar with Jira so you can see what I'm doing. And there you would see it will make suggestions. So you just click on start using Jira and here we go. Okay, so here it's saying, giving us whatever it is, all their stuff, but I'm going to dismiss the quick start because we don't need it today. Okay, so right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through what this looks like. And from there, we'll get into developing using Jira for what we're scrumming for today. So first thing first is the Jira software right here. So if you click on this, this is where it will take you to where your work is more or less to get started. And I know some of you will be wondering why I'm not starting here, but I'm going to go there so you can see what it is as well. But let's start from Jira Software. So if you click on these, it takes you to where your work, the work that you have. And then if you go to your work, right? So your work would show you if you're in a team, for instance, and they've assigned your name to a card, it will come up here. So you would see assigned to me, you would see here recent. So if you have recent work that you did, it will show up here. So you see recent work. And then if you are on certain boards, so maybe you're working with teams and you're collaborating on different teams, whatever board you're working on would show up right here. Okay, so that's something you would also see right there. Okay, and from there, let's get into projects. So projects would show you what your projects are, right? Any project you're working on, they would all come up right here. Okay, so you can see your projects here, and then it tells you, maybe this is something that they're just trialing right now. So go to market sample. So they want people to use it. So it's just suggesting that here. But ideally, this would show you your recent projects. And then this would, if you click on view all projects, it shows you all the projects you have. If you click on create project, click on create project will then help you get a new project started. Okay. We'll get back there in a moment. Filters. So filters are very good because filters, you can use it to search for specific issues and use those issues much later. So you search for issues, you save those issues, you can share those issues with people so that people are not searching for practically the same thing, and it becomes easier for you and your team to use Jira. That we're going to cover either in this class or in another class because of our time today. Okay, we look at our dashboard. So dashboard is where you would see more or less like your reporting, your analytics of what you're doing. That is also something that we'll cover in another session, but not today. Okay, teams would see, if you have a team, you see it here. If you can invite people to Jira here, you can collaborate right here. So that starts from here. And then you want to create a plan, all that is here. You can do that here. Here it talks about the apps. So if we have apps that are integrated on Jira, we would find those apps here, for example. So you can see here, they have Slack, they have Zephyr Squad, they have Circle CI, and you can explore more apps. I showed you some of them earlier when we were getting started. Here, if you click on create, create would take you to creating based on where you are right now. So right now it's showing Kanban for us. If I click on create, it will take me to like creating a new Kanban Kanban project, more or less, right? And then do I want to put in a task and all that? So that's what it would do if I click on create. Okay. So let's get into the project itself. So that's what this is. If you want to go to your account is right here. You click on it. You can see your profile. You can go through your profile. You can change things on your profile and do whatever you need to do on your profile. And finally, here, your app. So this one is where you see, the different tools that are there that you can also use, right? So the Jira software, Jira work management, and so on and so forth. So all that is right here. So let's get started with our first project. And because Scrum is quite popular and it's what a lot of software development teams use to deliver on their work, that's what we're going to use today. What we need to do is go here, go to projects, okay? And then once you get into projects, you click on create project, okay? Once you click on create projects, it takes you here. And here, you're going to see a few things, okay? So this is more or less what it's created for you. It's recommending this for us, but let's get into the different, more or less like templates that they have. So they've got software development, which is where we're going to work on, which is what we're going to work on today. So you can see Kanban, you can see Scrum, cross-team planning, which is one of the things I mentioned. You want to view the work of many teams. You want to integrate them together. Cross-team planning, you can use that. Bug tracking, which is something that Jira is quite popular for, is right here as well. You've got service management, so your IT service management, your IT help desk, and all that is right here. So you can see for those who use tools like PMC Remedy or ServiceNow, this would also do similar things to what those tools would also do for you. So you can see customer service management, HR service management, and they have like an HR template specifically. So the HR would help you from hiring to firing, more or less. You can do all that here. Finance service management, you're paying your invoices, your budget, your spend requests, and all that. You can also manage all that end to end right here. Work management, so this helps you, especially deals with projects. So you want to do a project from start. This is where you find it on Jira, and you can find the blank template, project template here. You want to task your track your tasks. You can find them here as well. For HR professionals, you want to onboard your new employees right here. Process control, sales pipeline, very similar to what you would find in Salesforce, for example. So you would see that here as well. So you want to use it to do your sales tracking, from pipeline to conversion to just managing your customers. You can see all that right here. For those who are into UI, UX design or graphics design, you can put your web design process right here. Campaign management, marketing campaigns, all that is right here as well. And some of these templates are repeated as you get into the different templates that you see here. Product management, for those who are product managers, you want to develop your product roadmap and all that. You find that you can use Jira for all that. So your product discovery, here you find custom roadmaps, all the different work that you can do on product management is right there. Marketing, so here you've got that as well. Campaign management, so you're driving a marketing campaign, for instance, you can use these as well to support that. Email campaign, so for instance, you're using the different email tools that are out there that you use for email campaign, the MailChimps and the rest of them, right? So Zoho and so many other tools, you can actually integrate them with a tool like Jira. So when you have those tools, for instance, you can use Jira to plan when you want to do your marketing campaigns, right? So those are things you can really do with Jira, right? So maybe you're using like Email Octopus or Zapier, right? So those are things you can use Jira for. Okay. HR, I mentioned earlier that you can use this from hiring to firing, right? So all through the process, you want to post a vacancy, you want to track people who have applied, you want to onboard your new employees, you want them to have, everything that you want more or less from end to end within HR, you would find here as well. All these tools these days, what they do is they try to have an integrated approach where when you buy their tool, you're not buying anything else. However, we all know that every tool has its own strength, right? Like for Jira, we all know that its strength is really software development and project management. So you would find maybe other tools that would be really good, maybe for HR. You would find here they also have procurement, they have finance, but you find other tools whose specialties are those areas, right? They would also have other things as well, but that's not Jira's specialty, but they still use it anyways. So if you buy it and you don't want to use multiple tools, you can find all that here. Finance. So here you can do your finance, service management, respond to questions from your team on finance, share guidelines and insights. You want to do procurement right here. You can see they have a procurement process right here. So starting from the point of you even requesting for bids and up to opening those bids, getting to putting your tender in the marketplace, doing your reviews, reviewing the bids that you have, doing your evaluations, contract award, contract management, contract administration. They have like a process that you can use right there. Okay, design, I mentioned already, you are in the design world, UI, UX design, you're a creative designer and all that. They have different tools that are here. Personal, you want to use it for personal, something personal, it's right here. For operations, it's right here as well. So you want to use it to create processes. You can also use Jira. You see how dynamic the tool is for lawyers as well. Within an organization, legal service management, you can use it to track your contracts. And, you have one single repository where you're keeping everything. Sales, we spoke about sales already, so I won't take time into it. Analytics, so they do some analytics service management right here as well. IT, this is where you find some of the key IT stuff. They are right here. And then facilities management, so that's also here. So they use this for facilities service management. And last but not the least would be non-profit. So you work with the Red Cross, or you work with Water Aid, or all the different charities that are out there that are non-for-profit. So there you can do your funding management, or you even work in an academic environment where you're trying to get funding, partnerships and all that. So this is right here. So they have tools that they've created that you can actually use for the different purposes. Now let's go to why we actually came here today. Okay, so we're going to get started, and we're going to get started with Scrum. So all you need to do is come here on software, you click on software development. Remember how we got here, right? So it's taking some time. So you click on your project, you click on create projects, and then you get to go to software development and click on Scrum. Okay. So once you click on Scrum, you click on use templates. That's all you need. And then you click on a team managed project. Company managed projects are usually for people who have a company admin that helps you do, an admin that helps you manage all the admin stuff. But this is what we're using today. You select a team managed project, and that takes you to what you want. Okay, so the project detail that we're going to build today, as we've suggested, we're going to have to build our we're going to use a 3-bedroom bungalow, right? So here you go. So there you go. and then we're going to have this right here, and we'll click on next. Let's just say here, and then you go here, you just go here and next. So now that it's loading, you get here and you can see the different things that you will have. So before we get into it as well, I like to walk you through it. Timeline is where you would see, by the time we populate our backlog now, you would see everything on a timeline. So timeline is where everything that we put in the backlog would show the different sprints the different epics that we have. Everything will tie up to the different stories, and that will show up in our timeline. Backlog is where we have our backlog, and this is where we're actually gonna get started. So that's where we have the backlog board. So once we populate what's on the backlog, it will show us what's to do, what's in progress, what's done, and you can actually add different cards to this. Calendar would give you one integrated view, so you can see all the work that needs to be done on, a daily basis, weekly basis, whatever it is, that would show up here for you. Here you can also see your list, and this would show you the different things and tie it to who's the assignee, what's the due date, labels, when was it created, and all that. And you can actually add more if you want. So goals, would show you as well, if you have goals, you can create a goal and use it in different places. All that would show up here as well. So issues, this is where they have their AI integration right now. So that's that. And then you can add some other things as well. If you want, you just click on add view, and then that takes you there straight up. Okay, code. So here is where you can integrate the different tools that are on Jira. So you want to connect to the GitLabs of this world, the GitHubs, everything is right here, right? So you can just do that. So all you need to do is just click on either connect to Bitbucket, or if you want, you can connect to the GitLabs, the GitHubs, or Git integration. So all that is here. Okay, so now let's get started with our project. So we said we're going to build a 3-bedroom bungalow, which is the example that we're going to use today. And the reason why we're using that example is I want something that is pretty simple for everybody to understand. So something that is very simple for everybody to understand. I don't want something that is complicated. I want either you're in software development or not, let's assume that you're in, say, healthcare, you want to understand it, it's very easy for you. Everybody understands how a house is built, more or less. So let's use that. So here we're going to first, before you do anything, the first thing we want to do is, ideally, when you're getting into creating a backlog, you would have what's called an epic. So when you're creating a backlog, you have an epic. So the epic is what we want to do first. Remember, I spoke to you earlier that it's your epic that you decompose into your user stories, right? So you decompose the epic into the stories, and each story must tie into an epic. An epic is a large chunk of work, and that is broken down into stories, and then you break your stories down into tasks. Okay, so here we're going to click on Epic right here, as you can see, and you just click move the Epic so that it would show. So click on the X here, and it will move it and show you what those epics are. Okay, let's take a look at the things that we want to have when we're building a house. Okay, so I'm going to take the feedbacks from the team as well. So we're going to have a foundation. Okay. All you just need to do is just enter, okay? And then we have another epic called roofing. We click on enter. We have another one called walls, right? Or let's use the North American theme, dry walls and walls, okay? And then you have the substructure. Okay. And then we have a building plan. I hope everybody's following up till this point. We have our plumbing. And then you guys said finishing. Right. Okay. Oh, I didn't write that down. Finishing. And then interior. And then your flooring. And then electrical. Okay. I think we're good for now. So this gives you an idea of what an epic is, right? We're building a house, which is more or less our theme, but the epic is the chunk of work or the chunks of work that we have within what we're building, right? So more or less that's what the epic is. So the epic gives you that it's the high level work that you have for what you are building. So that's what the epic is. So it's large body of work that can be broken down into a number of stories. Okay, so that's an epic. For your user stories, which is what we're doing next. So each epic would have a user story. What's a user story? We've spoken about it earlier. A user story is a requirement that the business wants that you can typically deliver within a single sprint. So that's what a user story is. And remember, I mentioned earlier that when you talk about your user stories, you want to talk about it in terms of who the actor is or the user type as this user, and then what do you want or what do you need, right? You talk about I want or I need this so that I can then get this thing, right? This value. Okay, so now that we're trying to use a house as our example, let's take a look at how we can do that. So what you need to do is we're going to create our stories, okay? So in creating your stories, all you need to do here is you can just create issue here, or you can create issue here, whichever one you do would still work, okay? So let's try the two. So create issue here, and you can see, so here if you click here, if you want to change it from story to maybe task or bug, you can change it here. So, but let's talk about it. We're dealing with stories. So in talking about a user story for a house though, it's a little bit different because what we want to talk about is for our user stories, we want to say things that relates to a house. So as a user, as X user, so let's take an example from the African community, right? Because that's where most of the people on the call today are from. So as a user, I want this so that I can get this, right? So the example, let's say as a user or as a homeowner, right? I want to typical Southern Nigerian or Ghanaian family. What do you want in a foundation? Okay. I want a foundation that can withstand, let's speak, for example, say, I don't know what kind of pressure, how you measure those pressure, but let's say maybe 500 psi, which is the what you use for pressure. So let's say 500 psi, for example. I want a foundation that can withstand 500 psi so that what, right? What value is it going to bring? So that when I pound, maybe pound yam or pound cassava or something like that, so that when I pound, right, it can actually absorb that pressure. So that's what you want. That's how you would write a user story if you're building a house. And I'm using very basic examples. It's not so complex when you get into the world of IT. However, it's important that we know that there might be, tweaks because at that time we would really be applying it to the work that we're doing, right? So in building a foundation, what would be a typical user stories? What are some of the things I would do in a foundation? Okay. So let's say, for instance, we know we're starting. So as a homeowner, okay. Okay. So as a homeowner, So some of the things you want to do, because you're giving this to a development team, right, is when you're writing the user story as the homeowner, I want, okay, the ground excavated or digged. Okay, so let's use digged so that I can I can have, okay, a solid foundation. Okay, so that's an example of a user story. Okay, so let's say excavated. Okay, excavate. Okay, so that I can have a solid foundation. So as a homeowner, I want the ground excavated so that I can have a solid foundation. So that's why we need that. Let's pick another user story again. Okay, so next user story as a homeowner. Okay, owner. Okay, I want to know the water table measurements, okay, so that I can construct, okay, the right foundation. Okay, so that's how you write a user story, okay? And then let's pick another one, for example. Again, let's pick something else. Okay, let's say as a homeowner, okay, I want, okay, a good concrete mix, okay, for my foundation. Why do you need it? So that it can withstand, okay, maybe the weight of the house. Let's use that as an example of the house, okay? Another one would be, let's say as a homeowner, okay, I want an elevated roof, okay, so that birds cannot perch on my roof, okay? So that's another one. Okay, so these are examples of user stories, okay? Oh, no. These are examples of user stories, very simple. Ideally, you won't write them this way. You will write them the same way. However, for your backlog, you can have them at a high level. So here, for instance, you can just say ground excavation, and then you come into your backlog proper, and then you add your details. Okay, so those are things you can do. And here, we'll still talk about that in just one moment. One of the things you want to do for each story is you want to tie it to an epic. So this is tied to a specific epic. Okay, so here we have foundation, and let's take a look at the foundation. So where do we have foundation? Here you go. So foundation, we tie that to our foundation and we say done, and it shows up in foundation. You go again to water table measurement, so foundation. You go to the next one as a homeowner, good concrete mix from foundation. Another one, this one has to do with the roofing. And then we can take a look at that as well. So roofing, I can see that. Roofing. There you go. So we can pick roofing here. As a homeowner, that's one of the things you want to do. And then let's do one for, say, as a owner, I want electrical materials, okay, that meet ISO, say 9000 standards, so that I can, avoid fire incidents. Okay. Okay, so that's maybe another example. So let's pick this and add to electrical. So now it makes it pretty easy for you guys to see how it's done. One other thing you want to also learn here is you want to add what's called story points. So you can do that right here. You just click on this and you add your story points here, say 5. And your story point is what's used to measure how you're working in Agile. I've mentioned that before. So you use your story points, especially in Scrum. That's what you use to track progress on your work. They use it to track velocity is what you use to track progress. Story point is what you use to see the size of the work that you need to do. Okay, so here as the homeowner, this one, so we can assign, let's say 10 story points. And I want to show you something, guys. So you can assign 10 story points to this one, which means it would require more work to do than the first one. So here, and one thing you can do is when you have a story that is large, you can actually split that story. So you just click on split issue and you add another story here, you split the estimates, the story point estimates, and then you put it right there, okay? So those are things you want to do right there, and you can do all that across. Let's go back to the task, the panel on this side. So you can move these, you can move the stories up or down. Those are things you want to do. You can move it top of the backlog, bottom of the backlog. You can copy the issue link. You can copy the issue key. You can add flag to it to make it more important so that it's, it's people see it and say, hey, why is this story flagged? There's a reason why you're flagging the story. Maybe it's urgent, you want it done first or whatever it is, right? Assignee, you assign this to someone, one of your team members, so you can assign this. Parent task, parent talks about the epic that this is connected to. If you have a task, for instance, you want to connect that task to your user stories, you can actually create that parent-child relationship as well. Story point estimate, I've spoken about that already, and I've spoken about how you split issues, and you can also delete stories right here. Okay, so now we're clear with that. Something else I want to show you is right here. So for each of the stories, you can actually add more details to the stories right here. So once you click on one story, let's click on this one. Okay, you see on the right, you see the panels right here. So this panel, you can actually add a lot of things here. So you can add comments to it. You can come here and you add an attachment to the story. Maybe there's something you want your team to see when they are working on that story. You add an attachment to it. If you want to add a child issue, I've mentioned we can do that, and I'll show you how you do that in some of our subsequent classes. Or if you attend our bootcamp, we're going to actually use Jira start to finish, end to end, and we'll get to learn a lot within that period in our project management bootcamp. So you get to use Jira, and I'm going to show you all these wonderful things you can do here in our bootcamp as well. Link issues. So here you want to link these to issues to a web page and so on. You can do that there. Here you want to add your apps, you can do. So here, this task is in to do right now. If you want to change it to in progress, I'll just change this one to in progress so we can see how that affects the board in a moment. So I'll just change it to in progress. You can see what it is. And here, this is what I'm saying, that in a typical environment, Scrum environment, you may not have the story this way written on your backlog like this. So they can write, so maybe just ground excavation. It all depends on the team that you're working with. You can write ground excavation just at the top, and here in the description, you then write the story, right? So you write the story, and then you can tag people right there and save it there. So those are some of the things you can do with on your user stories. Okay, now that we have that understanding, I'll show you something else right here, and then we'll run through it because of our time. We're already out of time today. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you for you to get into a sprint. Okay, like I mentioned, you can create a sprint anywhere. You can do so. If we had created the stories here at the top here, it already has like this, it's expecting that this will be our first sprint. Okay, so let's create something. So if we say maybe as a homeowner, okay, homeowner, okay, I want to, what else do we want to do on the roofing? So let's say I want to have, I want spray foam, spray foam insulated roofing. Okay, so that so that I can I can keep my home insulated, properly insulated in the winter. Okay. So that's another example. So here, if you create it on the ideal, first print that they have there, it will just, you'll see. So that's there, right? So they're already showing you can start your first sprint. What we're doing is what's called sprint planning. So this is where you plan, you have your backlog, you create your backlog, and then you assign your backlog to sprint. If you want to create sprint here, which is what I'm going to do, there are a couple of things you can do once you say you want to create sprint. So if you click on create sprint, okay, it will ask you what the things are that you want to do, and then you can then move your stories from here. You can move them to wherever sprint that you're creating. Okay, so right now, let's leave that and just, here we go. Let's do this and connect it to the, let's go here. Let's go here first, sorry. Here in our backlog, dismiss, and what we're gonna do, okay, so here, so let's say we want to start our sprint, but before we get our sprint started, I'm just going to click this here, so you can actually edit sprints. Okay, so there you can talk about what this sprint is, and you can give it any name. So you can call it Superman, you can call it maybe the super sprint, you can, whatever you want, you can just change the sprint to that name, right? So Superman, you can put that there. Custom would be the duration. I've mentioned earlier that sprints, you can use whatever sprint works best for your team. 1 week sprint, 2 week sprint, 3 week sprint, 4 week sprint, whatever you want is what you'd use. That's part of what you do with your team. But ideally, if you deliver in 1 week sprints, that's what you continue to use going forward. So you click on 1 week. The start is what you can change. Once you pick the week, you won't be able to change the end. It will just give you what you want, and there you do it, right? So here we go. So you just pick a date, and then it attaches to, gives you that timeline. Okay, so there you go, and then you update it, and here you go. So, and then you can click on start sprint. Once you click on start sprint, it will then start. See, so here you go. So you can see all the different things there. Let's get back to our backlog for 1 second. And in our backlog, here, so move to, so we want to move these stories, we can move them to Superman, right? So, and here you go. So you can move them to Superman, right? So all the stories back to Superman. And here, if you go back to our board, so you can see in progress. Remember, I changed that in progress to this one. So you move it here. That's not ideal. Ideally, you want to create your user stories before you start your sprint, and you know what's in your sprint. One other thing that we want to also do is, in our sprint, we want to create what's called a sprint goal. So here you put in your sprint goal, you enter what it is, what you want to achieve in your sprint, you put it there, right there. So that makes it pretty easy. So you can see that there, and then you can also see how what progress you're making on your sprint. So all that is there. You can see your burn down, you can see so many things. But today, like I mentioned, we're just going to go through it quickly, and we'll talk more about it in our next Jira session. If you go to our timeline, so now it will be showing you the dates when these things are supposed to be done, because we selected a 1 week sprint, remember. So that's why you see that here. Backlog is still the same thing that we saw before. The board is where you can see the different things. So what's to do, what's in progress, and what's done. On your calendar view, it will show you the sprint, right? So how long, when's our sprint starting to what date, right? So all that will show up there. And then here you can see all the tasks that you need to do. Everything is showing here. You can see which ones are stories, what's in your epic. You can see all that right there. And then in your goals. So here we have to create that. So if we did create, that would show up here. Something else I want to show us before we go today is if you go to your project settings, because for every user story, you're supposed to have what's called an acceptance criteria, okay? Acceptance criteria do not come out of box with in Jira. So all you need to do is just go to your project settings, right? Go to your issue type right here. And then once you go to your issue type, just go here to paragraph. And then because I've done this a couple of times already, you just click acceptance, add acceptance criteria here. For me, I want to make sure it's mandatory. So you just click on required. Oh, it's showing in bug. So no, we don't want it as a bug. We want it as a story. So you click on your user story, click on paragraph, and here you click on acceptance criteria. I say it's required, and then I say please include your acceptance criteria right there, and then I save changes, and now it would show up on our user stories. Anytime anybody is creating a user story now, they would see the acceptance criteria there. So that's something that you want to make mandatory, and then you can do so many other things as you wish right here. So that gives us an idea of how you use Scrum on Jira today. We're going to do something else. We're going to talk about Kanban, and we'll talk about it very quickly. Okay, so we're going to talk about Kanban. So here's Kanban. Here you go for Kanban. You go to the same software development. If you go to work management as well, we should be able to have Kanban somewhere there. But here you see your Kanban in software development. So you click on it and just say use templates. Okay, same thing, selecting managed, and we want to call this one whatever, right? So let's say we're going to call this our, say, workflow, right? So workflow project, okay? Or let's say web development projects. Okay, so here let's just say open. Okay, so here, because I have the web development project, it's loading. Okay, leave that page. So here you can create, so they have what's called swim lanes. So these are the different swim lanes to do in progress done, and you can add as many as you want. You can add something else and say maybe to do. You can say in queue, right? Okay, and here in queue, so that will be created, and then you can move your in queue here. You can also add in review. In review. Okay, so that's done here as well. Okay, so one of the things about, I'm just going to move, so in review, let's say it's right here before done. So here you click on your to do and you can create an issue. So let's say create landing page. Okay, that's it. And you enter. I go here again and say create login. Let's say that's another one. Let's say create a banner. That's another one. Or create logo. Let's say logo, for example. Okay. So the thing about Kanban is you can move things around, right? So I can move, let's say create landing page is the first one. So you can move it in queue and they know that these are to do, which is a backlog. In queue means, it's ready to move into the work stream, and you can move your cards around based on, the status of the card. That's one. Two is you can actually create workflows such that if somebody finished working on this thing, it just automatically flows from in queue to in progress. They don't need to move the card around. So that's something else you can also do on Jira. We're going to talk about that in some of our other sessions. If you attend our bootcamp, we'll talk about that at the bootcamp as well, where we show you end to end of Jira and really do we're all going to learn a lot on Jira. So that's about Kanban for today. We're going to have other sessions where we're going to talk more about how you use Jira for your Scrum, and then we'll really get into more details within our Scrum sessions. Okay, last one that I'm going to show us today is let's create something else. So let's quickly go. So for those who are project managers, for example, you're working in a waterfall environment and you're still using Jira in your organization. All you need to do, go to your work management, click on project management here, and then you can say, let's say XYZ project, right? XYZ project, XYZ project, and here you just say create project, and this will give you what a typical Microsoft uh, Microsoft project will give you. So here you can see your board, you can see your list, you can see which is where you would have more or less your schedule. You can see your calendar which is integrated with your schedule. So this list, so everything else gets integrated with the list, but the board is integrated with the list, the calendar, timeline, approvals, forms, everything is integrated with the list. On the list, you can enter your tasks, right? And then the category, the assignee, due date, priority, and here on the plus sign, you can actually add more right there. Okay, I think we've done justice to the session today, and it's been a pleasure. I'm happy that we all gained something from the session. Just a few things to discuss with us before we go, just to remind us all before we go that it's very important that, as you leave, remember that you need to continue to really work on these things. So that's critical for you to succeed. At least the things we've done so far, don't forget just to practice some of them, okay? That is very important. Hey, just a reminder as well for those who want to join our next boot camp where you're going to learn end-to-end of project management, different methodologies in project management. I'm the one who's leading that session, and I'm going to share with you in my wealth of experience. I'm going to mentor you. You're going to work hands-on on a project. The boot camp is from May 25 to July 27. And it's been success stories over success stories from our boot camps, people passing their PMP exams. For those who don't have the PMP, and for those who have PMP already, maybe you're looking for a job, success stories are there, they are bound. For those who don't even have a PMP, but they already have project experience and they're trying to break into the market as well, those testimonies are there for you as well. So if you come in and you don't have your PMP, for instance, you can have your 35 contact hours, but our focus is really developing and training and building the next set of project managers, hands-on project managers who understands what project management is, who understand how to build projects, who understand projects from an end-to-end perspective, who are well grounded in projects. So we're there doing this session. It's starting May 25. We have a promotion running right now till the end of April. Take advantage of that promotion so that you can get registered into the classes. All you need to do is go to our website, AAAconsults.com, and go to the project management page. There you can register. Okay, so I want to say thank you for coming in today. Finally, I'm just going to go and talk about what's last for today, guys. Don't forget, very important, practice, practice, practice. That's super, super important. So you want to make sure that you're practicing every time. That's critical to your success. Don't forget to follow our channels on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok. It's all at AAA Consults. Reach out if you've got any questions. Please feel free to reach out. I know some people are already have already reached out already. So for those who have questions about the bootcamp, about what we've learned today, please feel free to reach out. We have a next free learning session that would happen. That's going to happen on Saturday, May 4, 2024. So Saturday, May 4, 2024, we have our next free learning session. It's happening same time, 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern time. So that's when we have our next session. And finally, guys, don't forget to practice, practice, practice. Right? Practice makes perfect. Right? You want to know more, you want to learn more, feel free to come into our bootcamp. And we're still going to hold more free sessions. We share free sessions. We share different types of information during our free sessions, especially for those who are in project, UI, UX design, data analytics, and there's much more coming in from us this year. I want to say thank you to all of you. Once again, it's been an awesome time being able to share some of my knowledge with you. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your week. Have a good one, everybody.